It's that time of year where everybody is deciding what they want to do in 2026. What is this year going to be for us? And I was talking to somebody recently who was like, I think this is the year where we're going to start thinking about starting a family. And this is a person that I've known a long time. And they're like, yeah, we want to have kids, but we're just trying to like figure it all out. And they're like, can I ask you about daycare? Because obviously you have kids in daycare. How much does that cost? Like, what are you paying for daycare? And I don't mind. I always share this with people because I think that I wish I had known more about it. And so I was telling her, I was like, we pay per child for full-time daycare for a preschooler and a pre-K kid, about $1,500 per kid. It ends up being like $3,180 or something like that every single month for two kids in full-time daycare. Now, on the year, that's about $40,000. And so we were talking about this, and she was asking me about the different prices for ages and all that. And so if you don't know this, typically infant childcare is the most expensive childcare, and then it usually decreases in rate as they get older. So your infant is the most expensive, typically around like $2,000 to $3,000 a month, depending on what kind of center you go to. At our center, it's about $2,000 a month. And then it goes down by toddler, preschooler, pre-K, et cetera. It always drops down a little bit. And usually this is because of ratios. The more kids they can have in a classroom, the lower the rate is. But I was telling her, I was like, something you need to think about is how much it goes up every single year. So even though you're getting a rate decrease when your child goes from being an infant to a toddler, the daycare also has an increase, right? Typically anywhere the annual increase will be between 3% and 20%. Just depends what center you're at. For us, it was 5% this year. So if I was going to see a 5% decrease from infant to toddlers, but then I have a 5% increase in my annual tuition, it ends up just being the same. I told her, I was like, basically just plan to pay about the same amount of money for the entire time you're in daycare. What you start out at for your infant is basically what you're going to pay for the whole time, depending on what your annual increases look like. You might see some dips here and there, which is great, but also it tends to go up every single year. And so you don't want to plan for like massive decreases in your bill. And then she was asking me, she's like, we were talking about the cutoff and how I was saying if you have a kid who's born slightly after the cutoff, say where we are at September 1st, if you have a kid on September 10th, you have an additional year of childcare. So an additional $20,000 to $30,000 for that year of childcare. I have that with one of my kids. So instead of 5 years of daycare, she has 6 years of daycare. Then we were talking about after school care. I was joking with her. I was like, hey, I'm aging out of daycare years and we're having these conversations about what do we do with this money now, right? Like you always see those jokes of like, what will we do when we don't have daycare prices? Like there'll be signs. There will be signs like we will have money for other things. But also I was explaining to her summer camp costs and after school care costs and before school care costs, and then just other things that come up, whether it's school activities. But really after school care is very expensive. I have 2 kids who are in public school, and for 6 weeks, it's like $1,500 a kid for after school care. So anyways, if you're thinking about kids in 2026, just do some research into the childcare centers in your area, ask about annual tuition increases, and yeah, just plan accordingly.